I am 45 years old, and I have 2 adult kids. When my kids were 2 and 4, my husband walked out on us. I took care of the kids myself, working several jobs to make sure they had everything they needed. I worked shifts and ferried them to and from soccer and cheerleading practice. I saved up money to buy a piano because my daughter wanted to play. I love both my kids very much, and I don't resent them or regret having them, but I had them young, and it was a tough time. Now they are both grown, and I have a second chance at life. I have a comfortable 9-to-5 job, and I've been able to travel a bit, take care of myself, etc. I've even started dating a bit. My son just had his second kid, and keeps asking me to babysit. Up until now, I've made excuses that I don't feel comfortable when they're so young. Eldest is 2.5. But the truth is, I just don't want to. Sure, I'll buy them gifts for Christmas and birthdays, but I already raised 2 kids. I have no interest in doing it again. My son's wife has started making comments about me not doing my fair share, because her parents help out all the time. But am I really obliged to help out? AITA for refusing to babysit my grandkids? Hit the subscribe button now for more AITA dilemmas. I am 43 and have 3 kids with my husband of 15 years. Long story short, when I was 16, I had a brief romance with a guy who then skipped town. Shortly afterwards, I found out I was pregnant. I wanted to keep the child, but my parents convinced me to give him up for adoption. My mom had a friend whose daughter couldn't have kids of her own. I agreed to let her adopt my baby, as it meant he would be close by and I could still see him grow up. I would see him every now and then, and he seemed to have a happy childhood. After a few years, he moved away with his mom and dad, and I saw him less. I came to terms with my decision, and I was able to move on with my life. I never told my husband about this. I guess partly because I had agreed to never say anything to anyone, but partly because I felt shame for having given my kid away. A few years ago, I started to see a shrink, because I was feeling anxious and depressed. After many sessions of not getting anywhere, I brought up my first son. I cried a lot, and it became clear that this was an unresolved issue from my past. During the pandemic, my sessions with the psychologist moved online. One of those meetings, I guess my husband overheard me talking about it. He was quiet and brooding for some days, and I asked him what was wrong. He told me he knew about me having had a kid, and he couldn't believe I'd kept it from him. He also said some hurtful things about how I had abandoned my baby. I think, or at least I hope, that he only said that out of anger. I offered him to join in some of my shrink sessions to help us get past this. But he says he can't trust me anymore, and he needs to think. Now I am worried he might ask for a divorce. AITA for not telling my husband about my son? Hit the subscribe button now for more AITA dilemmas.
I, 31M, am a photographer and run my own business. I do loads of wedding/engagement shoots, and I have my own studio. I never, ever give away my services for free, but I will give a big discount to family and close friends. So my mom told me my sister's boyfriend, Chad, was going to propose to her, and had this huge party planned. She said he had asked if I could take the pictures. I agreed, and told my mom I would do it free of charge this once, on condition that I wasn't asked to do the wedding. I'm always the photographer at all our relatives' weddings, graduations, special occasions, and I never really get to enjoy the event because I am in work mode. Anyway, a few days before the engagement party, a friend of mine who also knows my sister and Chad tells me that Chad has been talking smack about me. Things like how I think I'm a big-time photographer, too good to take pictures of my own family. How my photographs aren't that good anyway. That I was stingy for not offering my services for free for the wedding, as if they would ever have asked me anyway. Cause apparently my pictures are mediocre at best. So I got peeved off and decided not to go to the engagement party. I texted my mom and let her know, but apparently they weren't able to find another photographer in time with the short notice. Now my whole family is angry with me, my sister was crying, and my mom said I was unreasonable and immature. AITA for canceling my sister's engagement pictures after her fiancé talked CP about me behind my back?
Hit the subscribe button now for more AITA dilemmas.
My wife, 41F, and I, 47M, always wanted a big family. We agreed that we'd have 3 kids, and that was it. My wife's second pregnancy wasn't an easy one, and she had many health problems both during and after. She said she was done with having kids, and didn't want any more after all. That was fine with me, as I agreed it wasn't worth risking her health. A few years later, my wife started having complications with her IUD. I agreed to having a vasectomy, so she could remove her IUD. Fast forward a few years, and my wife drops a bombshell: she wants another baby. I was taken aback. We had discussed this extensively before, and we both agreed that 2 kids were enough. But now, she's changed her mind, and she's adamant about having a 3rd child. I tried to reason with her, reminding her of the fact that I had undergone a vasectomy. But she wouldn't budge. She said she couldn't shake the desire for another baby. To make matters worse, both our families are pressuring me to give in to her wishes. They're siding with her, saying I should reverse my vasectomy or consider other medical procedures. But I'm not comfortable with either option. It's not that I don't love my wife or cherish our family. I do. But our youngest child is already 10 years old, and we're in a comfortable position financially. I don't want to have another medical procedure done on myself, and there's money involved there too. My wife might need IVF and other medical treatments, as she had so many problems last time. Adding another baby into the mix will also put a strain on our finances. When this new kid is 10, I will already be at least 57, and getting ready to wind down for retirement. I feel stuck between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, I want to support my wife and make her happy, but on the other hand, I don't want to sacrifice my own happiness. AITA for refusing to have a 3rd child after getting a vasectomy?
Hit the subscribe button now for more AITA dilemmas.
My wife, 57F, and I, 59M, have a daughter, 33F. Our daughter had recently started seeing a new man, and brought him home for dinner so we could meet him. The dinner went well, but afterwards my wife said something had felt off about the boyfriend. I decided to investigate, and promptly found extensive records and warrants. I also found a marriage license. They were going to get married later that month. We, of course, told our daughter about this, but she insisted that he had already told her all of this, and that lifestyle was behind him. I sent an anonymous tip, and the boyfriend was arrested at their apartment. At the time of writing this, he is still in jail. My daughter was very upset. I tried to console her by explaining it was for the best, but she just got angry. She called me an a-hole, and has refused to speak to me since. Although my wife agrees with me on what I did, she is trying to tread a middle ground. She doesn't want our daughter to stop speaking to her as well. As the story has gotten out amongst friends and family, the camp has been somewhat divided. Some say as my daughter is grown, I should have stayed out of her business and let her learn from her own mistakes. As we are nearing the 6-month mark of my daughter refusing to speak to me, I am starting to wonder myself. AITA for getting my daughter's fiancé arrested?
Hit the subscribe button now for more AITA dilemmas. My sister's husband passed away about 3 months ago. This resulted in her isolating herself from everyone for almost a month. Mom and Dad were so worried about her, and so they started inviting her to family events at their house. Not just dinner, the 3 of them, the whole family gets involved. She agrees to come, but then at some point, someone mentions her husband, even just his name or something reminds her of him, and she begins to sob. I'm not exaggerating. It's exhausting. As a result, dinner gets awkward, and whatever event is being hosted gets interrupted. This happened several times already. Last weekend I hosted a dinner. NGL, my husband and I were worried same thing would happen again. My husband said it'd be almost impossible that no one will mention my sister's husband at some point, so he suggested I let my sister sit this one out. In other words, just let her stay home and get the space she needs. I considered the idea, then called my sister and apologized to her for canceling her invite. She wasn't happy about it, which was surprising to me because I thought she was basically forced to attend those events. My parents found out and went off on me, calling my behavior disgraceful and saying that I was unsupportive and unfeeling to what my sister's going through to exclude her like that. I explained why I thought this was the best option, but they claimed that I took away the comfort and support that my sister gets from the people around her. They said that I was selfish and have no regard for my sister's loss, but I 100% do. My husband said that my parents obviously don't care about other guests being uncomfortable watching my sister sob at every event and causing it to be cut short like that. It is not only my family invited, also my husband's. My parents are still pretty much mad at me and demanding I apologize to my sister because I hurt her feelings. AITA for uninviting my sister to make sure all other guests are comfortable? Hit the subscribe button now for more AITA dilemmas.
I am 23, have been with my girlfriend, Liv, 21, for about a year now. Next year, we will be traveling to meet my extended family. A little bit of background. My parents are from France, but they moved to the US before I was born. I never learned French because as a kid I found it boring, and then as an adult I found it difficult. My parents didn't speak French with me at home, because they were both practicing their English, and wanted to make sure English was my first language. Languages are just not my thing, but I know that they come easier to other people. Liv already speaks Spanish fluently, even though no one in her family does. And she's now learning Korean. So I asked her to start learning French before she meets my family, but she refused. I argued that languages are easy for her and she should do it so my family likes her. She told me to learn it myself and she's not doing it. I said she knows how difficult learning languages is for me, but it wouldn't be a problem for her. She said she didn't have the time. I said that she had the time to learn Spanish to watch telenovelas and that she has the time to learn Korean to watch K-dramas, so she definitely should have the time to learn French to speak to my family. If she can do it for such silly reasons, she should certainly do it for something so important. She again told me to learn it myself and left. She ignored me for a few days and we met yesterday. I started the topic again hoping she cooled down and she refused again. I was mad. I told her she didn't respect me, nor my family, and asked how she could expect to be part of my family when she refuses to speak our language. She wasn't happy, and told me to go F myself. I'm trying to understand what's going on and I'm wondering if I was in fact an AH. Perhaps I should have been more understanding and given her time to realize in her own time that she had to learn French to integrate into my family, and to make our travel easier. AITA for pushing the subject and over-encouraging my GF to learn French?
Hit the subscribe button now for more AITA dilemmas.